it came to a point when I was like, we need to have a physical space, not our house. But I will say, though, a lot of the kind of core values that we have as Tune now came from this practice of hospitality. People would be in our basement, and then I would go down and be like, hey, do you guys want water? Or I'd give them beer or wine. Those like values, I think, were embedded in the shop that we open now.
That was Joy Liu, co-owner of Tuned, and this is Epicenter NYC. We connect our communities to news, information, and each other. I'm your host, Amber Castillo. In Gowanus, Tijon Randall, Joy Liu, and Vincent Cabrera have created a unique space that blends top-notch bike repair with a welcoming atmosphere. They started by offering bike services out of their own home, complete with hospitality touches like snacks and beverages. This ethos of care and attention to detail is now at the heart of their shop, Tuned, where customers can expect a warm welcome and expert service. As BIPOC business owners in a largely white industry, the Tuned team has faced challenges but has remained committed to creating a community-oriented space. Whether you're a serious cyclist or just starting out, they aim to make everyone feel at home. Today, I sit down with Tijon, Joy, and Vincent to learn more about their journey from late-night basement repairs to becoming a beloved local shop, all while elevating the standard for what a bike shop can be. Before we jump in, a quick message from our team.
Hi, I'm Mariana from the Epicenter NYC team. Did you know that anxiety, sleep problems, and muscle pain could be symptoms of long COVID? Take the steps needed to protect yourself, your family, and your plants. Get vaccinated against COVID-19. We can help you schedule your appointment and even arrange you right there. Email us at hello@epicenter-nyc.com or call or text us at 917-818-2690.
Now back to the show. Here's my conversation with the team at Tuned.
My name is Tijon Randall, identify as he, and I am partial owner of Tuned Bikes.
I'm Joy Liu, she, her, hers, and I'm also a co-owner of Tuned Service Studio.
I'm Vincent Cabrera, and I identify as he, him, and I'm also a part owner of Tuned.
How did you guys find each other, and how did you found this business together?
Well, I found Tijon on Tinder. And Vincent is a really close friend, but...
Yeah, so Joy and I are married. Vincent and I worked together in other shops.
When did this all go down with you and Tijon meeting, Joy?
We met in I don't know. We're not very good with
we're bad with that.
2015?
Oh, it's 2013.
Yeah, 2013.
No, it wasn't that long ago.
It was.
Okay, so Vincent, when did you come into the picture? Like you were a friend of both Joy and Tijon around the same time?
We were working at Bicycle Habitat around like 2018, and Tijon started working there, and we just got along, and we would like hang out. Since then, like we've been like really good friends.
Okay, did you both have separate roles in when you worked at the bike shops?
Yeah, I was the service manager at Bicycle Habitat, and he was the lead tech.
Okay, for someone who doesn't know about anything involving mechanics and tech of this, what do you each do?
I took care of checking the bikes in and kind of delegating the work, making sure everyone had the right work to do, I guess, and when it came to the mechanics. And then Vincent, I guess he was like, he could get a lot of work done. So I would, he did a lot of like the walk-ins, and some of the tune-ups as well. Yeah, that was pretty much. Yeah.
I was like the all-around.
At what point, though, so then you guys knew each other for some years before you started Tuned. Like, at what point did you realize, like, you wanted to open this up, that there was a need in the community or a need for yourselves?
So we both left Bicycle Habitat. We worked at Sid's bike shop. And during that time, I would always kind of do side work. Where Joy and I live, we have a basement. it was pretty much like a mini bike shop, like service shop down there. And anytime I would be like overwhelmed or had too many tune-ups or builds, I'd call Vincent and ask him if he could help out.
So that was set up, right? Where they almost were building their own kind of clientele and working on side projects. And also Tijon had started a company in 2018 called Honey Wheel Co. And so the foundation of owning a business like the LLC, the sales tax certificate, like that was already set, right? We had that foundation. But during the pandemic, when bike shops all over closed for a short period of time, if you remember, before they became essential workers, people started coming to our house. And so I was working at a wine shop at the time, and I would come home pretty late too after I closed the wine shop, and there would be people standing outside my house. And so it came to a point when I was like, we need to have a physical space, not our house. But I will say, though, a lot of the kind of core values that we have as Tune now came from this practice of hospitality, because people would be in our basement and then I would go down and be like, hey, do you guys want water? Or I'd give them beer or wine. Even if they were hungry, I was like, oh, you want some food? And then they would come up to use the restroom. So it was like they were physically also in our personal space. And you know, when someone comes to your space, you're like, hey, do you need anything? And so, how do you say it? Those like values, I think, were embedded in the shop that we open now. Like that hospitality, like when you come in, we ask if you want coffee. We're sitting on a couch right now. And, you know, when you go into a bike shop, it's rare to have a couch and that type of service before or during when your bike is getting looked at, I guess.
How long was this going on where you were like offering these in-house, like very in-house services before you opened up the venue?
A year or two? Yeah, it kind of like Joyce said, it kind of really kicked off during COVID. I'd have a few projects here and there, and then I would get busy at some times. And then like when COVID hit, that's when things kind of really ramped up. And yeah, I was still working at a shop. I believe Vincent was too. Yeah, but I feel like that's when we were really like working on bikes in the basement. Yeah. We had a little system, I guess.
Yeah. And then before bike shops were deemed essential, how do you feel about that? About like, why are bike shops essential? If you could talk about that.
A lot of people are afraid to use public transportation during COVID. I mean, bikes, you're outside, so you are still able to be 6 feet away or whatever the rule was at the time.
Yeah. We also saw a huge jump in ridership where there was a lot of new riders during COVID because people, you know, felt like they were stuck in the house and wanted some sort of exercise activity. Like if they were doing yoga before, or if they were doing a group exercise class, they didn't have access to that, right? Because a lot of the gyms were closed. So I think cycling became way more popular, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you go about finding the spot you're in now?
Just like rolling around and like looking at different
just storefronts.
Yeah, storefronts.
Yeah, because of COVID, sadly, right? A lot of commercial spaces closed down, but it provided a huge opportunity for us because we had no experience like past experiences of opening a brick and mortar. And so if this was pre-COVID, you know, landlords would be like, who are you? Like a bunch, you know, like a bunch of random people with no, you get it.
Yeah, no existing history. You know.
And I don't even think I did a business plan or anything.
We did.
I did after the fact, right? Like to
get the space.
To get the space. But like, I think we were fortunate enough too that people that we knew, our good friends, were like pro bono supporting us in terms of reviewing the lease and stuff like that. And so we were searching within a area, but also a price range. And those landlords, I think, that would give us a chance. Yeah.
How important was it for you guys to be based where you are now?
Part of it, like we saw the listing for this location and it looked different when we showed up. So on the online listing, the front door was different. It had like tiny windows and we were like, okay, let's just check it out. It might be interesting. It might not. And we showed up and it like has huge glass windows and like big door. It's like really attractive.
Yeah.
So we were like, oh, we should definitely check it out.
I was going to say too, another thing too is like our shop is kind of off the beaten path as well. And we kind of wanted that. We're like more of a niche kind of shop, and that we like specialize in
custom builds, in tune-ups, in
detail oriented work. So we kind of wanted to, although we did want a really nice looking space with the nice glass windows and the glass door, we also kind of wanted it off one of the main streets so that we could kind of focus on our work. You know, not, I don't want to say bothered, but not interrupted with, you know, some of the things that happen with a retail space.
So that was one of the things my editor and I found interesting. We're like, what is a boutique bike shop in this way? And that's usually like a term that, you know, historically has not been associated also with like BIPOC small businesses. So yeah, if you could talk about that a bit more.
Working in other shops, a lot of the time, you may have values that the shop may not have. For example, if a customer needs or a client needs work done on their bike and it takes a little bit longer than the store owner or the manager thinks it should take, then you might get in trouble, or it's like kind of frowned upon to kind of like take your time and make sure it gets done right. And that's the exact opposite of here. I feel like we took a lot of the things that we loved at shops, and everything that we didn't like was left behind. Like we've become like the shop that like people, it's like their last resort, right? They've been to 2-3 other places and they're like, no one can figure this out. It also helps that we both have years of experience. I've done this for over 20 years. Vincent is over 10 years of experience. So we've seen a lot, and also not being rushed. We're able to really figure it out and get it done right. That's kind of where the boutique.
Yeah. And also like you walk into a regular bike shop, you walk in and it's messy. So you walk in here and it's like just space is like organized and clean. And we have like the workstations do get messy when we're busy, but usually it's like pretty clean, and like people walk in and they're like, oh, this is a nice space.
I wanted to share that also when you come in, we have these like beautiful glass cases, and a lot of the componentry that we sell, so a lot of the bike parts that we sell are also super unique, and they're displayed in a way that showcases their value, you know, whether it's the design or whether it's the engineering of it. So that too it is a boutique in that case, right?
Some of these components that are very unique to you guys, was this something like, you know, that you envisioned for a while, or that
a lot of the components, the bicycle parts that we have on display, they're really carefully curated by Tijon and Vincent.
It's honestly just all of the things that we like, really. Things that like we would ride or trust. It's what we have here. Like if it's something that like either I've used in the past or Vincent has used in the past, and it doesn't work well, then we're not going to carry it. We're not going to display it. Or a friend, if we know clients that come in and we know that they didn't like that product or it didn't work because of not just like a specific thing, but if it just doesn't work well, then we don't endorse it. We don't want to, you know.
We'll sell you the component that works and that's going to last you for a while, versus just selling the component and having you buy one around the corner later because it broke. We do quality over quantity.
Yeah, and it's just beautiful. Like there's cogs that are gold, there's chains that are gold. Yeah, it's just beautiful stuff in here. And I think our customers like looking, you know, as if you would at any boutique store, right? You would window shop, you know, you look in the glass cases. Yeah.
Yeah. And going back to purpose, I'm really curious about people's your earliest experiences or earliest memories with bikes.
I mean, I learned how to ride a bike like pretty late from most people. I think it's funny. Like I could never ride a bike. And then like at 12, I think I literally remember getting on, like telling myself like, oh, you can ride. And I got on a bike and started riding. And then it was kind of just didn't stop from then. But yeah, for me, I think it was like kind of an escape to get out of my neighborhood. I grew up in Spanish Harlem, like on the Upper East Side, like Spanish, El Barrio, I guess they call it, in the 90s. Yeah. It was kind of an escape. I could like get out of my neighborhood if I wanted to, or just explore different parts of the city as far as I could go. I think the furthest ride I ever did, and this was on like a BMX bike. I rode upstate one time. That was crazy. I don't even remember how many miles it was. I go downtown to like Union Square, or there used to be this riding spot called the Banks, the Brooklyn Banks. It's under the Brooklyn Bridge on the Manhattan side, and I'd ride there a lot.
What got you and your friends so comfortable just navigating the city like that and outside the city?
I don't know. I mean, just being a teenager and just exploring and just kind of wanting to see what else is out there outside of your neighborhood.
Wow. As someone who gets lost in her own neighborhood sometimes, like I really admire that. What about you, Joy? What were your earliest biking memories?
I think I fell in love with riding like when I was probably 17, 18, around there, because I had gotten a lot of car accidents. And so, yeah, someone who's always lived in cities or towns, I should say, that needed cars, like in Southern California, it was so liberating to have a bike and just be able to navigate a city without a car that, yeah, like I just didn't have the ability or the skill. And I'm still very fearful of cars. And so I think riding for me is not just a life skill, but it's like a lifestyle and a tool that if I didn't have, I wouldn't know how I would survive. Like that's the way I see it as. Just like someone wouldn't know how to survive with a car, like if they're living in Jersey or in LA. Like for me, if I didn't have a bike, I don't even know how I would live. And so that relationship started after totaling 3 cars. But right now, I think I'm still learning and growing. So like Tijon and Vincent built me a gravel bike. And so that's a little bit off road. And so that's something I'm excited to learn. And so I'm still, I guess, developing a relationship with bikes. Yeah.
Yeah. Vincent, what about you?
When I was a kid, I remember I was like scared of bikes because I had like a bike with training wheels and that was fine. And then they took off the training wheels and I hated bikes. So that went on and I learned to ride a bike when I was like 11, 12-ish. And by that time I was in Mexico. And so my parents moved there. So for Christmas, I got a bike and my sister did too. And they like took us to a park and I like learned how to ride a bike. And then since then, like I would just ride with my sister or like around and they would take us to like little parks. And once I was in high school, I was like 15, 16, I would like ride to school, come back. And then some other friends, like we would meet up and go on mountain bike rides. Because we like, where the area we lived in, it was like pretty close to the mountains. So it'd be like a 15, 20-minute ride and then you're like in the middle of nowhere. So the whole fixing stuff started when I was a kid because like I grew up with Legos and stuff. So I was like always like putting stuff together. Yeah, and tinkering. And then in Mexico, like I would fix my own bike because like I would take it to the mechanic that was around my house, but it wasn't great. And I was like, this doesn't feel right. So I would like start tinkering with the bike myself. Like eventually like just start riding more. So I would just buy the parts and like install it myself. So I feel like since then, like fixing stuff was always a thing I wanted to do. Yeah.
And what's been, since you guys started the business, like what's been one of the greatest challenges in just, well, first of all, in setting up the business? I know you guys talked about like even finding the space, that was its own hurdle, and also in maintaining the business.
I would say a lot of the administrative aspects that you don't really think about, like, so not just getting a sales tax certificate, because I do think New York City does a great job doing that, but that you also have to like apply for EIN and like, you also have to set up, like, I use QuickBooks, but the kind of bookkeeping aspect of it too was confusing. And then even like having a POS system, right? Point of sale system, be able to capture that, and then how it's kind of linking, just all your numbers become connected, and just managing expenses. and then
all the different accounts.
and then opening a ton of different accounts. So like if you have one customer who's doing a custom build and they want this component and this part and these are all different companies. And so you have to prove to these different companies that you are a legitimate shop, and you have to send photos, and that, because they're not going to sell you wholesale or what we call B2B, business to business price, like just to anybody. And so it's all the like admin work. But for me, like that is all like learnable. It's just a matter of time. I think one of the biggest challenges that Tijon Vincent face, or that I've witnessed, is that they aren't like, white men. And this industry is predominantly white men that own the shops and that appear to have that level of expertise. And the same as like a car mechanic, like people kind of trust the white male to have that level of expertise. And so oftentimes I've witnessed like a customer come in and they are like looking for the owner. There's a lot of microaggression, as well as even virtually, like people, when they email for inquiries, they're like sending us YouTube videos on like how to do it, or they'll ask like 10 times, like, is this something you feel comfortable
are you sure
working?
have you done this before? Are you sure? And it's like, yeah, we've done it before.
How do you guys navigate that? Like even in your, I don't know, like even coping without getting super pissed, or maybe you do get super pissed, but like, how do you manage that emotionally?
They're the good ones. I'm the one who gets really upset all the time.
Yeah.
It's interesting because like, I think I've also just dealt with it my entire career. I'll kind of brush it off. I'll just kind of like do something like really quick, or like explain it as best I can, or they'll just like, it'll be like a weird interaction, and then they'll pick their bike up and realize like, oh wow, this feels way better than I thought it would. And then usually like the second time they come around, that does not happen. They're like, oh, hey, how you doing? Like, can you guys do this for me? Great. Thank you. See you later.
And I will say we are also part of like a larger community of Black and brown small business owners or Black and brown creatives. And so we do cope by like talking shit, by expressing the frustrations that we have with others. So it's not just it doesn't just sit with us. Like we are in community. And so that way, I think, right? It's helpful for you.
I think so too. Yeah.
And I know you guys have alluded to this, but what role do you think you play in your community?
Yeah, so we're in Gowanus. The role play is just like a place that you can like be yourself. You can come in, be yourself. Like,
you don't have to like pretend to be somebody, or like pretend to like
like you don't have to be like a serious cyclist. Like, I'm a biker. Like, we welcome serious riders, obviously, but we also welcome like the person that just got their bike and they just want to find a place that's going to help them take care of their bike. So, or like the enthusiasts, someone who may only ride on the weekends, or they want to ride with their kid on, it doesn't really matter to us. It's like, I think like the biggest thing is like, for me is like, if you love your bike, I love your bike.
That's good to know, because I was going to go by and pretend to be in a biker again.
No, you don't have to, like you can even just come by and hang out. Like we really encourage people to like come say hi. If you don't have a reason, like you don't need a reason, like you don't need something to be wrong with your bike for you to come by and say hey to us.
What are your hopes for this business? What do you hope it will become? What do you hope you'll be doing if you're expanding any services? Yeah, what are your hopes for the business?
We were saying that we hope that it turns into a staple. Now we do get some people that are visiting from different countries or different states, the US, that come to the shop because they're like, oh, I saw something on Instagram and I wanted to check out your shop, or like a friend traveled to Japan and like there's another cool bike shop out there called Blue Lug, and like they've definitely sent people our way just to like check out the shop and like hang out. So
that, and also just like kind of elevating the idea of what a bike shop is, and just like increase the level of service and expertise, and just keep pushing that, and just as far as we can take it.
You can find Tuned at 291 Nevin Street in Gowanus. If you want to learn more, feel free to give them a call at 718-643-1858 or follow them on Instagram at tune.by. We've added the link in our show notes. Finally, if you know of a local business that you think Epicenter should feature, let us know. Drop us a note at hello@epicenter-nyc.com. That's all for today. Thanks for listening, and thanks for supporting us as we do our best to support our community. We couldn't do it without you. For more stories like this, make sure to subscribe to our newsletter at epicenter-nyc.com. Our intro music is All the Pretty Horses by Caravika. You can find more of their music on their website, linked to in our podcast description.